So good afternoon, everyone. This session has to be very energetic because we are talking about leadership, we are talking about life sciences, we are talking about the future, and it is indeed a pleasure today to welcome you to this important conversation on leadership in life sciences, building a sustainable, patient-centric future. As a matter of introduction, I am Dr. Jeroz Dalal, and I'm honored to serve you as a moderator for this session. For over 3 decades, I've had the privilege to work across clinical development, global medical affairs, and global health programs, spanning malaria, tuberculosis, AMR, which is antimicrobial resistance, rare diseases, and neglected tropical diseases. So much of my journey has been about one central belief, and that is leadership in life science is ultimately leadership in humanity. It's about designing research that respects communities, building systems that endure, and ensuring that every innovation reaches the people who so need it. Today, as we stand at the intersection of scientific advancement, digital transformation, and global health inequity, leadership requires courage, empathy, and a relentless commitment to patients. I'm delighted today to explore how we can collectively build a more sustainable, equitable, and patient-centric future. Over the past decade, as you know, the life science industry, the healthcare industry per se, has had remarkable changes, yet we are confronted with unprecedented challenges. For example, there are rising diseases, there are new rare diseases, there is disrupted health systems, there is digital acceleration at a maddening pace. And with all this, it's important that we explore how we can collectively build a sustainable, equitable, and patient-centric future. So, I'm very happy that I have got these exceptional leaders who embody this philosophy, and they have influenced science and shaped policy, built teams, driven innovation in ways that inspire all of us. Together, we will explore in the next 40 minutes or so what leadership must look like, not just for today, but also for the future we are responsible for building. So I think we should get started now. I've had a long introduction. So as you know, the leadership, from the name of our session, the leadership is evolving with all the evolving changes that are happening in the environment around us. And my leadership style, if I had to ask myself, and I did some reflection today before coming for this session, so it's not just changed, but I think it's matured. It's been my 39th year of work, so it's matured. And it's not happened overnight. So nothing happens overnight. It's not been a straight line, but it's come from moments of disruption, working with different cultures across geographies, some reflection and some growth. Earlier, it was leadership meant, delivering results. It was all driven with results. The focus was on results, manage timelines, ensure quality, no audit findings, then you're good. There has to be, of course, operational rigor, scientific rigor. That was it. Today, how it has changed is it's about anchoring every decision and every team conversation to a clear purpose. Why are we doing what we are doing? So the purpose is to improve patient lives and expand access and building capabilities. So that is a major shift in my personal reflection. And what has been the trigger that has led to the shift has been, by leading global teams and seeing frontline realities, I have reshaped my views along the way. The results definitely matter. Your boss definitely will want to see the end result, but purpose sustains people. So that is an important thing that I have learned, and I think even around me I see lots of leaderships who are driving, who are having a purpose, and purpose-driven leadership is what I see. So with that, let me, I have these esteemed speakers. Let me put my first question on to, where is Manish? Yeah, closest to me. Manish, and Manish, it's about patient centricity. So we often talk about patient centricity, but what does it mean to you? And what needs to change to make it rather a norm rather than an exception? And anybody else on the panel can jump in to share an example. So let's start with Manish.
Thank you, Dr. Giros. And it's again a privilege and honor to be sharing the same dice. I think I've worked with Giros 12 years back and GSK, and now I'm with Invocept. I think good question. And again, first, good afternoon, everyone. Um, Today we talk about patient centricity, and at all leadership forum, I think we use it as a slogan. But for me, to patient centricity is not a slogan. I think it's shift of mindset. Okay, which means that you have to design every part of healthcare around what patient needs rather than what our system wants. I think that's the first point. And in my research and in healthcare research, I've learned one simple truth, that patients don't want special treatment. They want simple, human, respectful experiences. And to come to the question that what is true patient centricity look like, I think it starts with listening before designing. We need to listen or understand what patient wants today, rather than what we want to give them. And it could be a very simple thing. Either you go into a hospital setup, you go into a research setup, you go into a clinical study. I think the first step is to understand the challenges, which could be anything simple like time, travel, fear, cost, confusion. Simple, if example, if you say, there used to be long queue in the hospital, and that was the most anxious of, way for the patient to do that. And some few hospitals have started giving token systems, SMS alert, which at least eases their life, and patient becomes a little less anxious and still wait for the time. And that has changed the entire OPD experience these days, acceptably. I think second thing is reducing burden. I think everyone has seen, Munna Bhai MBBS and his first line, which he says, वो पेशेंट अंदर जाने के पहले वहाँ पे वो लिखना ज़रूरी है क्या फॉर्म so that's reality. I know there are protocols we have to follow, but then there have to be developed something which may, because 1 second, even 1 second is very important for the life, and so something has to be developed in that case. And most of the clinical studies, what we do, in oncology, what we have seen, it's very hard for the patient to travel to hospital. So there were quite new things developed where, things can be done at home. And we don't need COVID to come that, but then COVID has made that possible, and people are now getting treated at home itself. So that's something, a less burden which has been given. And third thing what I'll speak about is communication. I don't know today when a patient is discharged from a hospital, how much they really understand the discharge summary, the schedule of timing. I think more important is, empathy is not about being polite. I think it's being clear. So I think there should be clear things, a layman language. If you write rocket science, that simple guy will not understand what it is, to be honest. And lastly, it's about empowerment and dignity. I think patients should feel that he is in control of their choices and not overwhelmed with us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think.
We can move on to Sachin.
No, thanks. I think.
If you'd like to add or
good
give us an
afternoon.
example to make it a little easy for our students.
Thanks, and good afternoon, everyone. I think Manish has touched upon very valid points, and we all actually come from a clinical development background. So, how many of you know the clinical trials? Word clinical trials? On the back side? Okay. So I think maybe we'll just need to introduce them what clinical trials is. So clinical trials is basically when any molecule comes in a market, before coming into a market, it has to be tested on humans. I'm using a very layman term. So it needs to be tested on humans, and that is called as a clinical trial. And why that is important is we need to establish a safety and efficacy of the drug. And that is very important piece, and it takes a huge amount of time. So it takes at least, we have seen like a decade of time, any new drug which comes in a market, it takes at least, say 10 years of time. So just imagine how vast that research must be, and there are a couple of stages that has to happen. I'm not going in detail there, but in addition to what Manish just said, so what is happening in that space? As we are all Mumbaikars, we know the platform word, right? Everybody is aware about the platform, right? Okay, so train local platform is very close to our heart, right? So in a clinical trial setup, again, from a patient-centric point of view, what used to happen is more, rigid trials. When I say rigid, it is like very time-driven, fixed mindset, and patient has to go to the hospital, we call it as site, and get his or her examination done. So many procedures has to follow to the T of the protocol. We call that document as a protocol, right? And what has changed, as we have seen with the COVID, is there are so many flexibilities allowed and accepted. They were there before, but it was not that widely accepted. Now with COVID, it is like, okay, you can have home visit, you can have, many things can be done. And with the technological evolution, variables are playing huge role in that, because you can collect all kind of a data at very remote place, and centrally you can analyze that, and you can see the exact patient journey online. So with the earlier topic, which I was saying from a platform, what has happened in a trial is, and basically that started with onco, studies, is there is a terminology used as a platform trial. So when we say that there is a trial which needs to be designed, suppose just a example, say diabetes. So everybody is aware about diabetes. So if you are designing one trial today and next trial say tomorrow, you will have same elements captured there. So you are not really doing anything new, but you are just adding a new molecule in that protocol and testing the same things there. So somebody thought, why not we can do something like a platform, wherein trial is like a train. So platform remains the same. One train is coming, then that is going ahead. Second train is coming, that is going ahead. So how can that happen in a trial? And very beautifully it was done for onco, wherein you have like established set of rules, a standard protocol for a particular indication, and then you will have one molecule coming, getting tested, coming out of it, either fail or pass is a different story. But in a way, what happens is you are avoiding so much of trouble of getting all regulatory approvals, wasting that time, crucial time, to have that molecule in market. That is one. Second, patients are unnecessarily not getting exposed to a comparator arm, because what happens is you are comparing your product against something else. So you have to have a comparator also. So they are unnecessarily not getting compared with the same kind of set of parameters. So you have set comparator, you have new products which is coming in, getting tested, going out. And there is a trial called iSpy that was started in 2010, and which is like a unique case, wherein there were 17 molecules which were tested in that same platform over a period of, if I'm not wrong, 12 years. So just imagine how much patient burden this kind of a concept has reduced. And that is now something which actually a food for thought for us, because can it be done in other indications like diabetes, hypertension, so on and so forth. And I think this is something which is like evolution of a trial from a patient-centric point of view. I can say that.
Great.
Thank you.
I think very good points. And if I were to wear the sponsors hat, I come from GSK and Novartis, and Pfizer and Astra, and I won't say some more names. But it tells me that sponsors always have a problem finding the patients, finding the right patients, finding the right investigators. It's always a challenge. So if we had this platform, the same platform, and number of trains passing by, I think it will definitely ease the pain, ease the burden, not only on patients, but also on the other stakeholders, including the sponsors. So, thank you. I think we can move to the next point, which is on sustainability and system strengthening. So that Lokesh does not feel he's left out, I will pose the question to him directly, and then we can chip in. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Jeros, and thank you, organizers, for giving this opportunity to us. I am Lokesh Chaudhary. I'm the Managing Director for Katopa Research, India Operations. And with this point, I would like to highlight there are multiple challenges and multiple strategies which we'll have to implement to have sustainable and culturally aligned research models in India. When we say that dimensional strategies that integrates patient needs, system capabilities, and also we need to have a community context. When you say that, in addition to that, we need to derive these into 4 to 5 points, different points, wherein first point which I can take is start with the community driven, wherein we need to make an awareness about our clinical trials, not only in the Tier 1, Tier 2 studies, but also in Tier 3 studies, wherein we need to imbibe the clinical trials in those low-income cities, where economic cities where the trials are not being reached. So it is our responsibility as well to make the trials more sustainability, and also to take towards those hospitals, so that the patients over there, they get an advantage of these new modules, new trials, and also to the new molecules. We need to involve basically in them, engage patients. We need to have caregivers. We need to have clinicians, and also we need to involve public health workers. And the last but not least, but pharma leaders, because without them we cannot integrate the clinical trials into those hospitals where these are not been part of the clinical trials at this moment. The second point which I would like to highlight is about the invest the time in training. We need to invest the trainings to our investigators, study coordinators, study nurses, and also to health workers, wherein we need to create the sustainable and scalable clinical research hubs and site networks. And at this moment in India, I'm sure everybody is aware that we do have clinical research organizations, CROs. We have sponsor organizations, and in addition to that, we also site management organizations in India, where in these sites, these management, what they do is they move into interior parts of the cities, and they develop the new clinical sites, wherein the studies gets integrated in those hospitals. Even the investigators or the doctors who have not been exposed to the clinical trials, they have been involved into it. So that is an advantage for us, that these SMOs are playing a very important role for us as well, to make him taking the more and more investigators into the studies and making the exposure to them, and putting them into the light of the sponsor companies as well, to understand what they are giving an advantage to the society as well. Because working into clinical research is not only in basically earning, but it is a social work what we are doing, social work what the investigators are doing to us. Because without them, we cannot invent new molecules, we cannot invent new I can say study or molecules, and not in oncology, not in diabetes, or not in the CNS as well. The another point I would like to build is build the capacity to skill development, wherein when we scale skill development, I already mentioned about training, but yes, in addition to the training, we need to involve the digital world also into it, so that as Manish and Sachin mentioned about the getting the data from it, the data is very important for us. Without that, we will not be able to have our create the statistical analysis of the data to ensure these molecules are safe or not, to analyze that. The another point which I want to make here is we need to have partner across the systems, wherein we need to collaborate with hospitals, NGOs, academic institutions, and also with digital health startups. I understand last year I just went through some of the presentation awards of the same edition 11, wherein there was one digital health startup owner who had come. His name was OPD. He came with OPD. So I would suggest those type of digital startups would definitely help clinical trials as well to collaborate and do the clinical trials. Yeah.
Thank you. I think very valid points Lokesh has made. It's about including each and every patient in the nation, giving them the access into trials. Because as he said, without patients, without investigators, we will not develop new drugs. And if they are not involved, then they will not have access to new developed molecules. So I don't know if anybody is from Kashmir. I can give you a very nice example. Anybody in the room from Kashmir? No. No. Okay. Okay, somebody is there. Okay. So in Kashmir, they have a very high incidence of gastric cancer, and that's because they hold that hot kangri next to their abdomen. And because of that, there are high chances of abdominal cancers, especially gastric cancer. If you look at the number of gastric cancer trials that are done, there is no trial that is done in Kashmir. It's done in Mumbai, it's done in Hyderabad, it's done in Ahmedabad, Delhi, Bangalore. But this is what is called inequity. So patients who really need those trials, not just trials, but they need medicines for those conditions. They don't have access to trials. And imagine a patient from Kashmir being called to Mumbai, Bangalore, because these are long studies. They are like studies over 2-3 years. So naturally, they will not participate. So that is the inequity that we are seeing. And what Lokesh and what Sachin just said is to bridge those gaps. So well said. And now we will move to everybody's favorite topic, which is on digitalization, digital transformation, and AI. So with AI and digital tools, of course, we are reshaping development of new medicines. But my question to Manish, Lokesh is, what is it that excites you the most? And also, what are your concerns with this AI,
Yeah, it's indeed a very hot topic from past 1.5 year, AI digital transformation. And I think, yes, looking AI digital transformation, what comes into our mind is, it would help us understand patient better. It will, make faster decision and improve outcomes with few errors. But then that also create a huge, tremendous responsibility over us. Um, AI, ML, it's always excitement. It's always exciting, I think, because of its speed and efficiency. Because AI can analyze huge data, big data, which we have in the labs, which we have in the registry, repository, everywhere. I think it can also help in giving a personalized care. Basically, as you know, we move from one size fit to a precision medicine kind of a path. In clinical trials, it can support in a huge way, like rapidly identifying right patients, predict dropouts, detect early safety signals for safeties, and also automate data quality checks. It also reduces human error, and it can usually catch the risk, which is and mitigate those at the early stage. In short, what I can say is AI promises fast, safer, and more personalized healthcare. However, there is also concerns regarding that, because there are unscattered data into a various field. Finally, what is AI or what is ML? It is someone data feeding it, and that is only getting exhibited outside. So if there is a incomplete or poor data which is feeded, obviously you'll get a wrong outcome. So we have to be careful that the data which is getting feeded or data which is extracted by AI from some source are authentic. That's one thing. Privacy and misuse, which is a huge road these days. Data privacy is going all over the world, and plus this healthcare data is highly sensitive. So we need to see how we can prevent these breaches happening. Over dependence. Are we going to be more dependent on AI? And I know after ChatGPT, after a lot of engine comings, we all have gone almost 50 to 60% dependent on that. And fine, that's fine for a particular reason where you need a very quick outcome or quick things to be done. But yes, how much to depend on that? That could be a question. Inequity. Will this AI limited to only wealthy higher institution? Will a common man benefit from that or can reach to it? I think more important, if we see on AI ML, the huge challenge right now, you have a AI ML at one end, you have a technical person at one end. He doesn't know AI doesn't know the technical field. How are you going to reduce the gap? That's the critical thing. The more we can minimize that gap, I think AI and any technical field can work together well. That's my.
Thanks, Lokesh. Your perspective on this topic.
With respect to the AI in patient centricity and leadership sciences, if we go with that, we have involved a lot of now e-consents are available. We have decentralized clinical trials, which has been set up right now, mostly in India as well as across. And I'm sure everybody is aware about ICH GCP E6R3 guidelines as well. Also, they are most favored to the decentralized clinical trials, wherein how this could be accessible to the patients will be important for us. And also, what are the different tools can come into clinical trials, how those will be relevant to the patients, how those are going to be utilized, how that data is going to be analyzed. That is going to play a major role in coming future right now, because in India as well, most of the organizations have already started using systems. When I say systems, earlier we used to work on CTMS, but now after CTMS, which is all called as clinical trial management system, after that now we have evolved into different other decentralized systems, wherein we have started working on risk-based analysis, and also I think this point was discussed in the first point about the patient centricity, wherein implementing the points through the favor from protocol in the protocol from the patient centricity. We used to see first what are the risks associated with that molecule, what are the risks associated with that protocol, what is the risk associated with the patient, whether patients are free to travel to the visits, how the frequency of the visits is going to be favoring to the patients. We always have to see from that perspective. So that's why these things, if you put into a system, definitely you will get a very good picture. And AI is going to play an important role in the next coming clinical trials. Yeah, thank you.
Just wearing my sponsor hat here, in one of the studies, it was not the sponsor that I was associated with. They saw in one of the cancer studies, patients were dropping out. They had to fill an electronic patient reported outcome. It is called EPRO, EPRO it is called. And they had to fill it every day, and there were constant reminders. So there were lots of dropouts. So that sponsor company went back and tried to understand from the patient that why were they dropping out. And that's when they said they had what is called this email fatigue, these reminders, constant reminders, and every day to go into that system and put their data was a fatigue that they got, and they were also getting anxiety because of that. That's when the sponsor stopped that or reduced the number of times the patient is required to feed in that data, and the dropout rates, as you can imagine, they reduced, and the patient recruitment happened on time. So just wanted to share that. And now we can move on. I think in the last session also we've talked about culture, but Sachin will tell us something we've not heard in the last session. So what is the one mindset shift that today's young scientists and clinicians must embrace to become future-ready leaders?
It is very difficult.
You cannot repeat what happened last time, and you should only tell me one mindset shift.
Yeah, so I think the one mindset shift I think for everybody to remember is be prepared for anything. When I say anything, as in you can't have the same old rules going to apply with the newer future. So be comfortable with that fact. I think that is something which is true for all of us. Because what has happened is, I remember, when my dad used to work, or even my, their generation, they used to work in a single field, and their job was secure up to 60 years of age with the same set of, operating model or the procedure which they used to do. But with the advance of all these digital tools and everything is changing on a daily basis. It is very difficult or even scary to keep up with that change. So that uncertainty is something which is the norm, and I think we need to accept that, because that is one mindset shift I would like everybody to be prepared of. Second, it's not about getting scary with all of this, but you need to have a different kind of a skill set. So it's not like if you are expert in one area, like say quality or clinical research, you are you are okay with that. You can't sustain with the one skill in any industry for that matter. You need to have a very cross-sectional skill. So it is more of AI and digital. That is what we are talking more often. So you need to be at least aware of what is happening in that space. You need to have even a more behavioral skills also, I would say, or even the collaboration is something which is going to play a huge role, because no single person will be expert henceforth, because you will have so much of data and information available to everyone. You can easily access all of that. So you need to have a good collaboration skills. That is the need of the hour. And very important point is in the changing world, you really have to have always a learning attitude, because I think somebody mentioned before as well. So you can't stop learning. So make that as your habit. So it should be your discipline. As somebody says, like motivation can be there for certain amount of time, but discipline really keeps you at top of everything. So I think habit of learning or discipline of learning, that is something which we need to adopt. That is what I can say. Yeah.
That's very valid for all these young minds and young students who are here. So keep learning and keep learning the breadth of things, and collaborate as much as you can. Network. These are very important skills per se. Here, I think I'll give my example. Since I'm a moderator, I'm allowed to give one more example.
Why not?
And it's one of my favorite examples. So it's about an airline which, in the late 1997, couple of crashes they had. It was an international airline. It is a Korean airline, and they also had some near misses. They had 2 crashes. So they've investigated that what is wrong, and they found that the aircraft was fine, new. There was no technical glitch. Then what happened? So they found that the glitch was in the mindset of the co-pilot. There was a lot of hierarchy in the cockpit. So even if the co-pilot saw that there was something that was not right, he would not raise it because of that hierarchy in that culture. So that culture shift is very important, and the culture of speaking up and having the courage to speak up there, then, without bureaucracy, without fear. Abhi, aaj, abhi aur isi waqt, otherwise you're ready to be crashed. So that culture has now become a gold standard, not only of aviation industry, but all our industries. It's called crew resource management. It is called CRM. And that is what the Korean airline started after these near misses and crashes. So some things can go wrong even when there is no technical glitch. And same thing applies in our studies. But because of the culture, they're at least recognized, and there is this speak up culture, the culture of courage. And as leaders, since we are talking about leadership, we need to create an environment of psychological safety where every individual has, regardless of their rank, grade, designation, has the authority and the responsibility to say that this is not right and this needs to be changed. But it has to be aaj abhi or aaj abhi or isi waqt. Aaj abhi or isi waqt. Yes. Yes, so great. I hope you can relate to that example. At least some of the people have woken up in the back seats. Yeah. Okay, I'm watching. Okay. So let's move to Lokesh now on if he would like to share something on access to innovation, which remains the big challenges even today. It is one of the biggest inequities in global health. How do you access this innovation? Innovation can happen, but how will those people who really need it have access to it? So over to you.
This is the same point which seems to be relevant for me, which I discussed earlier about the reach to the patients, wherein the innovative designs, innovative models which we need to create within the organizations to understand how we can define different strategies to involve and to reach our patients, our clinical trials, our clinical studies. So as an organizational leader, I need to sit with my team and decide how and where we can focus these studies, and how we can integrate them into different cities. Because when you are doing a trials, you can't focus only on one city, but you need to focus on different geographical parameters. We need to understand that, because you need to have the analysis through that, and afterwards at the end you need to define the results. So you need to have different various modules when you are planning any studies, and you need to discuss with your organizational leaders as well, and then we need to jot down the plans, and then we need to implement them in different with different project managers. Because when we start a study, it's not only one person who tells us about the project, but we also check with different other project managers as well to understand if they have any such experiences by moving to those different cities. What is their experiences? What is their experience with respect to the investigators? What is their experiences with respect to that molecule? Because they can help us to understand how we can support the trials, what are the different points that can be added into the protocol. Because this section is about the patient centricity. So we need to think through that level, and we need to put those points into the into the protocol, and we need to execute it. At the end, results you can't say, but yes, results are always important for you. But you need to plan and you need to ensure that this has been executed as per your all the plans what have been created. Yeah.
Thanks, Lokesh. And now I think again another very interesting subtopic, which will be we are towards the end of the panel, but it's on the future outlook. What is our future vision? So it could be Sachin or Manish. If you can redesign one aspect of the life science ecosystem from scratch, what would that be and why? And the other question, one of you can take it, is what gives you hope about the future of healthcare and leadership in our region?
So, today if I get a chance to redesign, I think what is important is today regulators, clinicians, researchers, industry, patient, all have to work with the same goal. I think that one platform, one goal, one mission is very important. It would be more like a single, connected patient-centered system, which is important. And for that, I think, as I, told in my session of patient centricity, that one national digital platform having everything, like the EMRs, the ECRF, the RWE studies data which is there, and the safety should be connected at all. Okay, this would make healthcare research more faster, transparent, and far more reliable as such. And again, we don't need to treat patients as patients. I think patients should be treated as partners. And one of the example, for this digitalization, or what we can give is, for example, so imagine, if every hospital in India, maybe a government or a private, has one unified electronic medical record. Each patient has one unique health ID, and the medical histories are secured at a common repository. Now, for example, a patient walks into a hospital with a chest pain. The doctor opens the EMR using the patient unique IDs. He will get his previous ECGs, lab reports, scan, treatment histories, everything. At the same time, here where AI can play a hero and role, the AI pops up the clinical insight. Same three similar cases somewhere at some corner of India or of the world happen, which will give them, which will pop them the same diagnosis. So this would help a uniform or, a diagnosis to come through it. A doctor at North could know what South is practicing, what is the correct way. Because today if we see, what delays is diagnosis. If the diagnosis happens at the correct time, I think many lives would be saved. I think that is my one, redesigning. If we can design that at a national level, this will be benefit for the patients. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can add one more point to what Manish just said. So, from a national front, what we have seen, and I know audience is not aware of what happened in clinical trials, but there was a shift in, in regulators' rule or a decade back, wherein what they mandated is all clinical trials should happen at a multi-speciality hospital. Yeah. Now, if we have to talk about it from a theoretical angle, it looks nice because you have ICU, you have everything available in multi-speciality hospital. You have your institutional ethics committee to take care of ethics aspect, and all said and done, everything is right. But if we talk from a patient-centric approach, what it has actually left out is a patient, because what is happening is, it's not that all or majority of patients are directly getting treated at multi-speciality hospital. They are getting treated mainly, if you see, even for those doctors or physicians who are there in multi-speciality hospital, they have their own clinic outside of that hospital or somewhere near vicinity to their patients, and there they get large amount of patients who are actually fit for X study. But because of this rule, they can't access this clinical trial. And second important is, if they will have to do that, and we have seen that in many trials, is it is the same doctor who is actually referring them to that multi-speciality hospital. So it is actually a trouble for that patient from traveling his area of comfort to a hospital which he is not aware of. And majority of times, not all trial require all that is needed in in multi-speciality hospital. We don't need ICUs, you don't need. So that mindset change, I think, from a regulator's point of view is very important, because certain things only regulator can do, right? If they change this as a rule and make it more inclusive, I think that will be a really welcome step from a patient-centric approach.
And to add to, if we see in today's real world, the maximum data lies with your clinicians, physicians in clinics, not in hospitals. But the clinician or the physician at clinic never stores the data. He will give the prescription to you and that data is lost. So a mechanism which could actually be built where this data, which is in huge number across, today you at one street you have 50 clinics and all are full and all are with data. I think there has to be some initiative effort where how we capture this data and use it for the beneficial of the future patients, I guess.
Majority of the patients which are referred by the doctors to multi-speciality hospitals, they have to travel to another cities or probably from a bigger, from a suburb to a city. So that's why again there's a challenge. The patient cannot stay there, so it's completely, disorganized or, a difficult challenge to deal with. Yeah.
True. Talking about multi-specialty hospitals, do you think there are enough multi-specialty hospitals in Northeast India? There are 7 sister states, hardly anything. We also have Andaman, Nicobar Islands in India. So there are patients, but they are not included. So our focus should be to include every patient who deserves to get a new medication. And that has to change. So just rephrasing what Sachin has just said.
Just one
Yeah,
point.
please go ahead.
I think if a government if they could implement a health card as we have an Aadhaar card, if we have a health card for each and every team person in India, his complete historical data will come into that. Okay, and that data, what we said that may get lost sometime in between, so that will not get lost, and it could become as an EMR. So that is very important for everyone, so that the data can be saved and it can be used for different other purposes wherever it is required by the investigators, by the doctors, because sometimes patient doesn't have it. In rural, they don't have those case papers available with them, so it may get lost. So it's always best that if government can come and implement this as a health card for each and every team person, so it will be helpful for everyone. Yeah.
That can be a big hope
I know.
for the future of healthcare in India. So thanks. So
I think
please go
you
ahead.
mentioned something about what lies in future, or
Yeah.
I think there was some follow up. Yeah, what is the hope? Yeah.
What is
So,
the hope?
Right. So the point again, what I can see is, as a country, we are young nation, right?
Yeah.
So that is really a hope, for us to go beyond where we are currently. So we have young minds available. They are actually using this digital and AI and ML and everything. Actually, they are taking it ahead to the next level. So that is really a good, point to be in. So India is really at yeah. So impetus is there. So that is really good. Second, I think as we all are aware, there is something called as GCC, which has happened with our country. So GCC is Global Capability Center. So it's not only about pharma side, but that has happened for all other financial institutions, and even for that matter McDonald's. They have big GCC available in India. So that is something which is bringing even that mindset change in our people. So I think I'm very hopeful of having that mindset of global organizations, or what globe wants is really going to help us establish Indianized standard. So that is something which is I'm really hopeful and positive about it.
Excellent point, Sachin there. So I think one question to all of them, so that they all feel they are equal. In one sentence, what is your message to this young generation of leaders in life science? One
Hello.
sentence.
I think collaboration between the experience and the new generation, I think that would take things ahead, what I can say.
I think they should have an innovative ideas to implement within the industry that can be more advantageous to the patient centricity.
Okay. So I think I can go beyond one word or one line, right?
Yes, you've done that, so
Okay.
last
So
chance.
yeah, that's the reason I took this mic at last, So I think, yeah, the important point for all of us, and again for the young generation, is the word called trust, right? And what we should and how we should look at the trust is actually, it is very difficult to explain what trust is, right? And I can look at it in a way where it is something like a bank account, So what we do is, if you needs money, we can't directly go to the bank and ask for money, right? So you need to have some score or CIBIL, or you need to have that record available. That means you have to deposit some money. So you have to create that equity. So trust is like that. So what happens is, in your career also, as you move ahead, you have to really work upon that aspect well, because that is definitely going to play a crucial role in your life. Because whenever anybody refers someone, they all these factors play in mind. So how trustworthy that individual is, so you have to build that trustworthiness for yourself. And I think that gets built on an incremental level. It's not like one day you come and say, okay, I trust you 100%. That never happens. So you have to really work on that aspect. And as you grow in your career, that one word really defines or make or break you. I think that is something which I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we can close the session. I want to thank all our distinguished panelists for such insightful and inspiring contributions, bringing all the elements of patient inclusivity, engagement, trust, and digital technologies. So today's discussion has reminded us that leadership in life science is not only about advanced technology and science, but also about advancing humanity. And we've explored how patient centricity is so key and must guide every decision, and how sustainability must anchor our strategies, and how innovations must be both responsive as well as inclusive. As we look ahead, the leaders who will shape the future are those who will listen deeply, collaborate fearlessly, and build systems, innovate and build systems that endure beyond their tenure. It has been a privilege to moderate this conversation and to learn from each one of you. This was my first attempt. On behalf of the organizers, I thank all the speakers once again, and thank you to the audience for your engagement and commitment. Thanks also to Amol for even engaging directly with the panel, and to build and the commitment to build a healthier, more equitable, and more compassionate world. We look forward to continuing this journey together. Thank you very much.